We will terminate business dealings with your company.
Huh? What are you talking about?
Leah's father runs the parent company of a significant client we've been dealing with.
So, what does parent company even mean?
You're the parent company, and Ryan is part of the subsidiary. What you say no to, Ryan says no to as well. That's the relationship between the parent company and its subsidiaries.
What?
So, that means we're going to lose several major clients. Yes, that's correct. You explained it well.
It was at this moment that my mother-in-law's expression changed.
I am Leah. I've been married to my husband Ryan for 4 years. My husband helps with the family business. His family runs a wholesale food and beverage business, and under his father, who is the president, my husband is learning the day-to-day business as managing director. Since getting married, I've been handling the accounting at my father-in-law's company, contributing in my own small way, and leading busy days for the sake of the company. The company's performance may not be at its peak, but we can afford some luxuries. Perhaps that's why my mother-in-law has never worked. I used to think she was responsible for all the household chores, but she actually hired a housekeeper and led a leisure life. The reason? It's because I moved in here.
It's a waste to have a housekeeper when you have a new bride living here. She can handle household chores since she's living here, right?
At the sudden remark, I, a timid person, lowered my head. And here, no one would go against my mother-in-law's will. I had hoped that my husband would at least argue back, but he too simply looked down without saying anything. My father-in-law never disobeys my mother-in-law, perhaps because he was adopted into his wife's family. It was the first time since we started living together that I realized my husband couldn't stand up to his mother. Upbringing is a powerful thing, and for my husband who had grown up with this as the norm since he was little, there's no inclination to argue with his mother. Since I became a bride, I've been consistently managing both the household chores at my in-laws' place and the company's operations without a break. Lately, the wholesale business has been facing tough times, and we can't afford to hire new employees. Saving money on hiring a housekeeper has allowed us to allocate more funds for our employees. My mother-in-law seems to regard me as a workhorse, I suppose. Thanks to long-standing relationship with suppliers that date back to my grandfather-in-law's time, the company somehow manages to keep going. According to my husband, his grandfather started the company from scratch and expanding the business all by himself. Since he didn't have a son to take over, he chose my promising father-in-law and married him to his only daughter, my mother-in-law, entrusting the company to them. My grandpa was a kind but strict man. He endured unreasonable treatment to protect the company. I really love my grandpa. I wish you, Leah, could have met him. He was an unreliable husband, but he had a great smile on his face when he talked about his grandfather. Mom has a different kind of strictness than Grandpa. My husband spoke in the nonchalant manner. I am living under the exhausting reign of my mother-in-law. My husband seems detached from it all, as if it was someone else's business. I never imagined him this way before we started living together. When we were dating, he was a confident person who could clearly express his own opinions, and I found that admirable. However, in front of his mother, he becomes as quiet as a gentle lamb. In places where his mother is present, my husband is still the same as he used to be. And my father-in-law also has a vibrant work ethic at his company. However, when he returns home, he becomes silent and retires to his room hastily after dinner. Watching these two, I started to adopt the same behavior. Anyway, in my in-law's house, my mother-in-law is the queen. You absolutely cannot defy her. Let sleeping dogs lie. I made sure not to displease her. This is because I still carry the trauma of the early troubles when we first began living together.
Wait, what's this? It's salty.
I was the one who made the stew that she spat out.
I'm sorry. Can you even cook properly? Put more thought into nutrition. Do you want to send me to the hospital?
No, I would never.
It's barely edible,
I'm sorry.
And you all seem so poor. Overall, the meals are meager. Maybe it was a feast in your house, but for me, it's a simple meal. If you've come to my house as a bride, then prepare a meal that is appropriate for that.
Yes. My mother-in-law complained endless while still finishing her meal. In front of me, my husband and father-in-law just put their spoons down and sat still. The only one eating the meal was my mother-in-law.
It's really going to be a tough road ahead. A bride who can't even cook a decent meal is nothing short of embarrassing. Ryan, your taste is lacking.
My mother-in-law's lecture must have lasted for an hour. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law complained and asked for 2 more servings of my stew.
It's truly terrible. But we can't afford to waste ingredients,
In the end, my husband, father-in-law, and I were only allowed to touch our dinner after mother-in-law had devoured it. The 3 of us ate our meals in silence, without saying a word. Since then, I've been desperately trying not to provoke my mother-in-law's anger.
Lately, do you feel like you're been accumulating fatigue? Are you okay?
Yes, it was Kelly, one of the company's employees, who approached me. She showed concern for me as I lived in fear of my mother-in-law. Today was Kelly's last day at work. No, I'm fine. Thank you.
You must be going through a lot with the company's president's wife, right?
Well, I'm learning a lot, I guess. I tried to maintain a smile throughout, but I'm not sure if I was able to smile convincingly. According to the employees, this company also has its boom times. Sales were incomparably higher than they are now, and my mother-in-law experienced such a prosperous period and couldn't lower her standard of living. Hiring a housekeeper was a manifestation of that, as she never did any household chores herself. My mother-in-law, who loves shopping, frequently goes out and comes back with a lot of purchases.
There's clearly a disconnect with the current state of the company.
I've been feeling that as well. However, I'm not allowed to say anything about it. With my husband and father-in-law remaining silent, the current situation isn't going to change. If I make any statement that my mother-in-law doesn't like, it leads to a 1-hour-long lecture. Deciding to ignore it seems to be the only way to protect myself. Trying to adapt to the life in my in-law's house and the work at the company during the first year of my marriage was challenging. And now, after 3 years have passed, I'm facing a significant issue. It's been 4 years since I got married. My husband and I don't have any children. My mother-in-law, who desires an heir, naturally takes issue with this fact.
Hey, office worker, how long do you intend to remain just an office worker? Or maybe you just be a housekeeper?
She said that to me, And even if I didn't want to, I understood what she meant. I hate the weak part of myself that can't argue back and can only look down. My husband and father-in-law finished the dinner at an astounding speed and locked themselves in their rooms. I have no allies.
Hey, look at this. Isn't it a baby in this commercial cute? Are you not prepared to become a mother? It's because you lack the determination that a baby won't choose you. Babies, you see, choose their parents when they are born. You are not chosen by the baby, huh?
I'm sorry.
What do you mean by I'm sorry? Do you think that apologizing will make everything okay? You must have grown up being spoiled. You haven't had a proper upbringing.
Lately, I've been subjected to this kind of abuse every day. I want to go back home. I want to see my mom and dad, but I can't. I went against my parents' strong opposition and got married. I was registered as a runaway. I don't know how I can go to see them now. My parents and in-laws have not even met each other. I know that wholesaler well. I think Ryan is a very nice young man. But Ryan can't protect you, Leah. Ryan's mother is like the president of the company, and when Ryan has to choose between his mother and you, Leah, he won't be able to protect you. Upon hearing those words, I felt my blood boil. What do you know about Ryan, Dad? He's such a kind person. There's no one else like him. It's not about that. He can't do anything about it himself. The environment he's in is a monster. It's an unstoppable force. My father was desperately trying to make me understand. It infuriated me that my mother, who was nodding in agreement beside him, was taking his side. Mom, why are you siding with Dad? I want to get married. Why won't you support me? Leah, wake up. A marriage that the family doesn't bless is the beginning of unhappiness. That's enough. I stormed out of the house. If only I had listened to my parents back then, maybe this wouldn't have happened. I was so foolishly infatuated with Ryan. It's too late to ask for help now. I have to overcome this by my own. I have to try. I told myself that I would endure this life at all costs, but as a result, I was stalked by dizziness while at work, lost consciousness, and was taken to the hospital. When I woke up, nobody was there. I wished at least my husband had been here. Tears welled up uncontrollably. A nurse noticed me sobbing, silently took my hand and said, "You feel warm." To which I replied, "Your hand is warm too." A complete stranger had shown me kindness. That single act of holding my hand meant so much to me. During my 3 days in the hospital, no one came to visit. And on the day of my discharge, my in-laws and husband came.
Absolutely useless, this wife. I thought she was pregnant, but it turns out it's exhaustion. We'll deduct the hospital expenses from your salary. No complaints, okay? What are you dawdling for? Hurry up and pack your things.
Are you a family member? Let's go to the examination room.
Oh, no need for that. This child is already someone else. I'm busy. I don't need to hear the doctors talk. Come on. Stop dragging your feet and let's go.
My mother-in-law grabbed my arm and forcibly took me out of the hospital. And then, inside the car, she handed me a piece of paper. What is this?
Just sign it. We're submitting it now.
What do you mean?
You can tell just by looking. Don't ask questions.
Ryan, are you okay with this?
Yeah.
I held divorce documents in my hand. Ryan had already filled it out, been thrown away after enduring for 4 years. To be discarded so easily like this, my heart pounded loudly.
Don't go into a panic. We're kind-hearted. You know, we won't just cast you aside after the divorce. Be thankful because we'll see you off properly.
Well, I wonder if my parents would accept me if I divorced. Even if they don't, I want to see my mom and dad again. Inside the swaying car, I finished signing the divorce papers. They were submitted by my mother-in-law and husband. They were accepted easily, and our marriage came to an end.
With this, I'm bidding farewell to this baggage. You couldn't produce an heir no matter how much the time passed. I've been stuck with a defective product. Don't even think about alimony. Since I was the one fooled, I want to claim some money, to be honest.
While in the car, my mother-in-law continued to say whatever she pleased. When we arrived at my parents' home, my father, who was in the yard, noticed us. He rushed over and embraced me, tears streaming down his face. Welcome back. You've lost so much weight. During my hospital stay, I stepped on the scale for the first time in a long while. To my surprise, I had lost 20 kilos from the time I got married. Dad, I'm so sorry. I tried my best, but I couldn't endure it. I got a divorce. I'm sorry for causing trouble. I didn't listen, and I'm sorry. You did well to come back. Take your time to rest. My mother, who seemed to have spotted my father and me, rushed over. She was barefoot, as she held me in her arms and cried. Her loud voice echoed in my ear. Ryan, what did you say to us? You promised that you would protect Leah no matter what. Huh? What are you talking about?
What, you didn't know? Your parents ambushed Ryan after you left home. I thought their methods were sneaky from that time. They probably cornered the surprise Ryan, asking if he could make her daughter happy, right? Your parents waste their time on such nonsense.
Corrected.
Huh? What do you mean?
My parents aren't fools. The real fool was me for believing in your idiot son without listening to my parents. I thought of myself as weak. I believe I couldn't say anything to my mother-in-law. My parents had come to see Ryan for my sake, and having their feelings dismissed like that truly angered me to my core. Take those words back. Take them back, you demon.
Who are you addressing exactly?
My mother-in-law put her hand forward to jump on me, but it was my mother who stopped her. Hey, you demon woman! Would you like to tangle with me? My mother grabbed my mother-in-law by the chest and pushed her as hard as she could. My mother is as strong as ever. I loved my mother, such a strong and kind mother.
Don't touch me so casually, you paupers. Well, whatever. I've just come to return this useless daughter-in-law. Today, I've come all this way just to return this defective daughter-in-law. Really, she turned out to be the complete failure. Her parents should take responsibility.
Saying that, my mother-in-law laughed crudely.
I went out of my way to send a divorced woman home, but I wonder if she has any sincerity at all.
Sincerity, you say? Like what, for example?
Well, things like transportation expenses and various other mental distress, you see.
I see. It's about money, isn't it?
Even a poor person like you can catch on, huh?
Poor person, you say? Well, people have different ways of thinking, I suppose. I'll show you my sincerity in my own way. My father discreetly placed his hand into his breast pocket. I thought he was about to take out his wallet, but to my surprise, he had a smartphone on his hand. Then my father began making a call to someone. Yes, thank you. Please inform all the groups. A company has just appeared and announced an immediate halt to our transactions. My father hung up the phone after I gave him the name of my father-in-law's company. My in-laws seemed clueless about what had just happened. This is my way of showing sincerity. Please accept it. Oh, I almost forgot to mention. I have the audacity to run the company myself. Let's get to know each other better from now on. My father extended his business card, and both my father-in-law and husband were taken aback. And instantly, their faces turned pale. Why didn't you tell us? This company is the parent company of the one we have dealings with, right? Was there any need to tell you? Your father's company has nothing to do with your lives, right? Well, yeah, but if we had known... Different attitude. Is that what you're after? I've had enough of that. Well, it did get us into trouble. No, sorry. What's this all about, Ryan? Don't apologize to this failure of a life. Who cares about the parent company? Only my mother-in-law seems to be clueless in this situation. She's never walked a day in her life and can't even comprehend the concept of a parent company or group companies. Our business dealings with your household will be terminated. Huh? What are you talking about? Leah's father runs the parent company of a significant client we've been dealing with. So, what does parent company even mean? You're the parent company, and Ryan is part of the subsidiary. What you say no to, Ryan says no to as well. That's a relationship between the parent company and its subsidiary. What? So, it means we're losing several major clients. Yes, that's correct. You explained it well. It was at this moment that my mother-in-law's complexion changed. Oh, I see now. So there's still a use for you, right? Come on, Leah, let's get alone again. Mom, we're already divorced. Don't mess around. It's probably all your fault, Ryan. This wouldn't have happened if you had looked into your background. The big money was supposed to come in. You're completely useless. You shouldn't have been born. Ryan has no one to protect him. I had my parents on my side. Considering the environment he grew up in, I do feel some sympathy. However, I can't forgive him for letting me sink with him. My mother-in-law, in her excitement, rushes to where Ryan is crouching and starts hitting him. My father-in-law is completely escaping from reality, not defending his own son or trying to stop his wife. A neighbor heard the commotion and called the police, who arrived a short time later. It was my mother who stopped my mother-in-law's violence before the police arrived, but she hit Ryan with such force that his forehead was bleeding and his left eye was swollen. My mother-in-law was arrested on the spot for the violence, with blood on her fist. Ryan was taken to the hospital by ambulance. I haven't seen my mother-in-law or Ryan since then. My father-in-law has visited our home once. By that time, his company, which had already lost business deals with major clients, had gone out of business. However, when I saw my ex-father-in-law after a long time, he had a very cheerful expression on his face. He bowed deeply and apologized for what happened 4 years ago. He now seems to be showing up at various volunteer activities as a senior citizen staff member. And most surprising of all, he was divorced from my mother-in-law. My ex-father-in-law said he had a change of heart when he saw my father trying to protect me. His last mission is to help his son break free from brainwashing, and I heard he's attending counseling with Ryan. I received one letter from Ryan, but I couldn't bring myself to read it, so I sent it back. Despite going through 4 difficult years, nothing he says can make my heart waver. He remained my enemy for life. As for my former mother-in-law, she's reportedly gone missing. It was later discovered that my former mother-in-law had a favorite entertainer she frequented and that she had owed tens of thousands of dollars to him. Her company went bankrupt, and she lacked the financial means to repay it after the divorce. She disappeared in a hurry, as thought she was on the run. It's been 8 years since then, and I'm currently pregnant. 2 years ago, I met a man and got married, enjoying our happy days together. And recently, something surprising happened. I saw my former father-in-law in a certain place.
Hey, get lost! It's not for show,
she yelled, rummaging through a trash bin. I could only see her from behind, but I could never forget the voice. She was living on the streets. I kept my distance as we walked by, and the foul odor, unbearable for a pregnant woman, lingered. My current husband asked, "Are you okay?" and took my hand. I replied, "Thank you, your hand. It's warm." My former mother-in-law yelled,
"What? You're pregnant? Children, they easily betray their parents. Oh, children. Oh, what did I do? I raised them with all my heart,"
and continued to shout. My husband said, "Leah, let's hail the taxi." My husband, wary of the crazy old woman, immediately stopped the cab and let me in first. My husband said, "There are all sorts of people in the world," and showed concern for my mental state. I genuinely feel sorry for my former mother-in-law now. People don't change that easily, because I know that everything is a result of the seed we sow. I've made a strong commitment in my heart to walk a path completely different from hers. That's my firm resolve.